My name is Andrew Kelley, Senior Art Director for eOne Music and producer and A&R for Soul Temple Records. Graduated from college in 2000 with a Bachelor of Fine Arts, and first job was at Raucous. Started doing promo singles and some artwork for them, and then eventually got into eOne, Koch Records, was doing artwork for them, and music side I've been producing stuff for maybe the last 8 years. Everyone from mixtapes with AZ, Re-Up Gang, Raekwon, to Wu-Tang, Chamber Music, Legendary Weapons, Man with the Iron Fist soundtrack, and most recently Ghostface Killah, 12 Reasons to Die. Probably got into hip hop 4th, 5th grade. So I was heavily getting into basketball, and my first exposures to hip hop were all the older kids bringing boomboxes to the courts, and watching these guys play. I wanted to play like them, I wanted to dress like them, I wanted to listen to their music, just as a young kid looking up to them. Ice-T Colors was a big record, and all the older guys standing around reciting the lyrics from it because they were like so amazed by it, and I was like, damn, that is dope. I want to know more about this. I wanted to go buy the song. I wanted to tape it off the radio. Before I graduated high school, we hooked up a Sega Genesis, and if people remember, if they had the Sega Genesis, you could record loops, almost complete loops, not exactly 4-bar loops or 8-bar loops, but almost. And we would loop up things that we would sample and use the Sega Genesis as a basis and put things on top of it using a crappy old 8-track, I don't even remember what kind it was, and just layering things on top of that. Probably sounded horrible, but we were just trying to figure things out. We didn't have equipment. I went to college for architecture and pretty much graduated with a degree in DJing, so they weren't too psyched on the amount of time I was spending and the amount of money I was spending on records, and they didn't understand people still use records, people still use them, they just didn't get it. But I think when I started getting paid, then they are like, okay, this makes a little bit more sense. Now it's not just a hobby. So at first they were like, but then, when they started, I would hand them a CD and have my name on it, they would be like, oh wow, this is really cool. They'd show their friends and draw a lot of inspiration from the fans, especially with the Wu-Tang stuff that I've been working on the last couple of years. Wu-Tang fans are some of the smartest, most dedicated fans, and also the most craziest, and so to make music or to contribute to music that you see them that's huge for me, because I grew up a Wu-Tang fan. I grew up buying all these CDs and going to the record store a couple times a week and buying singles and tapes and CDs, whatever I could get my hands on. So Wu-Tang is forever. So if I help in any way, to keep that legacy going, then that's huge. If RZA taps me on the shoulder and was just like, yeah, that's dope, that's huge for me. I grew up, listening to all these dudes, and now to work with them and for them to tell me they like my ideas or they want to do something that I suggest, that's huge. I think in terms of producers that I try to contact, it's a case-by-case situation. If I'm working on a certain sound that I know that all right, this is for the guys in their late 20s, early 30s who grew up just loving boom bap hip hop, I'm gonna reach out to producers that I know that can give me that sound. But part of it is I don't care who you are. You could have no placements, you could have 100 placements. If you make something dope, why not take a listen? There's a lot of untapped talent out there. It's not just the dudes that have been doing it for 20 years. It's the dudes that have been doing it for a couple of years that are on the come up. I'll listen to their stuff just as much as I'll listen to someone who's been in the game for 20 years. I guess the challenge is always to get the artist or whoever you're working with, whether it's a producer or a rapper, just to see the vision that you have. If you can show them just a piece, and then if they get it, then they're like, they'll catch me. All right, this dude knows what he's talking about. Because sometimes people walk in the room and they're like, all right, who's this guy? Why should I listen to this guy? What has he done? So I guess to get people to accept some of the ideas I have, but once things start clicking and then they see, they're like, all right, this dude knows what he's doing. No matter what I did, at least I was trying to make something that was respectable. I'm not trying to sell out or anything like that. Because I have been a huge hip hop fan since a little kid, and the young high school version of me would be pretty, I think, disappointed if put out some whack shit. So my brothers, my younger brothers, if I made some shit and they were just like, man, what are you doing, dude? You know, like that would hurt, you know. So I don't want to ever disappoint them or my family or my close friends, you know, the kids I grew up with. You know, I want to, you know, anything I put my name on, I want it to be great, you know. So if I can look back at my career and look at all the stuff I've done, and you know, I'm sure there's going to be some bumps, you know, but still, if overall, if everything is, you know, solid, that's more than you can ask for. You know, Wu-Tang still got it, you know, like they still are putting out some dope shit. I mean, we're doing other things other than Wu-Tang on Soul Temple, but you know, whatever we put out, like I just want people to be like, all right, these dudes they're really trying to do some shit. You know, they're doing stuff for the fans. You know, they're putting together big packages, and we're trying to give you as much you can sink your teeth into as possible. You know, whether it's, you know, comic books or, you know, mixtapes and the vinyl editions. You know, we're just trying to give the fans as much as we can, and you know, we're going to keep doing that with the products we have coming.